Hey everybody, I wanted to do this video on something I'm asked about from time to time, which is how to build a butterfly garden. Or, they're like, well, hey, what do I need in it? And, 2.5 years ago, I didn't know much. My husband and I didn't know much. But we went out to Hagerman at their butterfly garden they had just completed, and it was gorgeous. And there's butterflies. We went during peak migration, so there were butterflies everywhere. And I was like, oh, I want this. And we had just kind of gotten to the point where we were like, hey, let's plant a bunch of flowers in our yard. We have all this sunlight. We've never had that in one of our houses before. So we're like, let's do this. So we kind of look up butterfly garden. Well, then, looking all that up, my husband, he said, monarchs need our help. And I said, okay. And he said, yeah, they're, and he kind of told me, what he'd read, and essentially that the decline of milkweed is the decline of the monarchs, and that is their host plant. So nectar, a lot of different things will, go to. Adults, bees, which bees are very important, guys. You really need to make them the VIP or VIB of your garden. Yeah. So anyway, after that horrible joke, let's move on. They are very important. But the monarchs, it's all about the milkweed. That's the only thing their caterpillar will eat. The adult will drink all kinds of nectar, not a big deal. But the caterpillars eat the milkweed. And that's it. But there's a lot of varieties of milkweed. There's even tropical, which I love the tropical. They all seem to love the tropical. So the adult will come, lay eggs, and then they become caterpillars, and they just start eating until they go into chrysalis, and they eat like crazy. They're like teenagers, so I'll call them caterpunks. So they eat like crazy. And that's the thing about the monarchs is they only have one host plant. Whereas the big eastern black swallowtails that you'll see me post pictures of all the time, they have like 5 host plants, and it's not endangered. It's dill, fennel, rue, parsley, wild carrot, which is Queen Anne's lace. So they have a lot of host plants, and pretty much all the other butterflies have lots of host plants. And like I said, it's unfortunate for the monarchs, and they have to go all the way to Mexico. They have to migrate. So you need to kind of do a mix of host plants and the nectar plants, so that you can meet all the needs of the butterflies and the different stages. So that's a true butterfly garden. And again, add in the pollinator mix, because they're very important to us, and we need to help them along. But one thing my husband and I learned this year, and a lot of the people in the monarch raising world are kind of like, uh-oh, because this was a legit study. Because there's been a lot of like fake stuff or a study done, and then somebody would come along and write some crazy article, and then the person that did the study said, oh no, that's not at all what I said. Well, this study's legit. And a lot of the scientists, everybody's agreeing, yeah, you need to really look at this. Which is, last year we raised 100 monarchs indoors and tagged them and released them. Of course, tagging is for scientists, people that are, find them and can we write down the information, like how they were raised, where we are, things like that, right? So people find the tags, they get at that information. Very cool. But what they're finding is that the monarchs are not doing well. They're raised inside because they don't get used to the environmental cues that they're supposed to. They said even if you bring them in when all that's forming, they need to be outside, like get a net, cover the milkweed outside. They can get used to all the environmental things going on, and there's something in the environment that works with their genes that gives them that compass to help them migrate. Whereas indoors, they don't get that. It's crazy. I mean, it's wild. So that's the good thing about, these lot of citizen scientists like myself and my husband that are, learning these things. And true with hummingbirds, they don't know a lot about those yet. And there are very few people in the United States that are qualified to tag them. Can you imagine putting, it's like a little ankle monitor. You put a little ankle on them, a little ankle monitor on their ankle. Can you imagine the ankle of a hummingbird? Yeah, that's why very few people can do it. But they don't know a whole lot about them either. And you know what I want to know is, do I have the same ones coming back? Do they remember? How long do they live? Of course, I think they know that more or less. It's kind of interesting stuff. When I was younger, I wasn't as into science. It was okay. But as I get older, I'm like, wow, this stuff's interesting. But anyway, there's a lot of groups on Facebook. There's Building a Butterfly Garden. That's one of the best. There's a lot geared towards raising monarchs. And all these groups help. So, if this is something you're really considering, please go check it out. A lot of times they have people that will give away seeds. You just pay the postage or something. All these things are worth it. So go check out those groups. Building a Butterfly Garden is like the main one, but look up anything with butterfly online, you'll find it for the Facebook. But and if you have questions, feel free to ask me. Appreciate it. Thanks.